So, I owe you guys three stories regarding my experience in retail. And this is customer meltdowns. I need to get my mind together because since it's been a couple days now, I've recovered from it to a point that some details are beginning to escape me, but you'll get the gist of it anyway. Sunday, we had this one guy completely lose his fucking mind to the point that he got up in one of my manager's face, was cussing really loud and throwing hands up in the air and shit. And then he went to another section to give that management squad hail as well. Our shift leader, of course, had to be summoned, and she also got fired at a little bit. And basically, it had to do with a return. The guy was claiming that we returned the item, but he still has yet to see his money back. And basically, he wanted us to do a do over. But of course, we cannot do that if evidently we did that return. We cannot just run a duplicate. So, anyway, after all that, it was particularly bad because it was a Sunday in the south before a snow storm had been announced. Needless to say, it was busy, it was packed, and this happened right at noon when you know that human traffic is going to be pretty high because everybody's coming out of church unless church closes when there's a snow announcement. But it was just insane to me that this dude spent like some 3 hours, I would say, over there as opposed to listening to our instructions and our assurance. We even gave him a number that he can feel free to dial and demonstrate that we indeed perform the procedure as it's meant to and that his money will be back. It just depends on your bank. And if I had to guess, the delay might have been due to it being a weekend, or maybe it's one of those things where because the next day was a bank holiday, somehow that gets mixed into the equation as well. I don't understand delays with money showing up in the bank. I don't mind that anymore. It doesn't bother me because I never have too little on my account anyway. So it's not like I'm running the risk of some crazy overdraft or anything like that. But I mean, this dude, anytime my manager tried to hand him the card, and by hand him, I mean that she was trying to slip it across the desk to have him grab it, and he would like slap it away, like tossed them to the side to the point that my manager had to pick them up from the floor. And at that point, I thought, that guy is making me very uncomfortable. He's loud. It's starting to get a little dangerous because he kept getting closer and closer to the desk. He was hanging out already in like the little pathway for you to enter the desk. And obviously, that is an area where only authorized personnel can be there. So essentially, you're trespassing. But we didn't really want to escalate it into calling the cops because that is an absolute last resort. But sometimes I feel like I wouldn't agree with that. You shouldn't wait until it gets bad enough for that to happen because then what? What if the really bad thing happens and we could have gotten rid of him, but we didn't? So I'm at a conflict with that one. But another thing I want to say is, you guys, help me understand. There is something I don't understand about this guy just losing his mind because whatever he bought that he returned, he did not want an exchange. Clearly, you did not want this item. You didn't need it with urgency. You didn't need it immediately, nor did you need a replacement for it. He wanted his money back, really bad, of course. But if you were not accepting an exchange, why are you mad that you're not getting your money back quickly if you bought this item that you needed slash wanted, and had this item worked out for you, you would not have returned it, you would not have your money back. So where does this rage come from? Just because you have to wait an extra day or two to see your money posting, I don't get it. That is the part that shocked me the most about this whole thing and how much hell he was willing to raise. So that one was the worst one. It did not involve me directly, but because I was in the vicinity, you could feel the pressure. All of our hearts were racing because this dude was loud, everybody kept staring at him, and he was pushing things to the side and all that. It was just really rowdy, totally unpleasant. I have two more events that took place on Tuesday. They happened directly to me. So on Tuesday, I was serving as someone who's floating. I wasn't committed to a register. I had to perform multiple tasks, various tasks. I wasn't anchored in place. I was responsible for getting cards, keeping the department clean, performing returns, all of that, just the big package, because I needed to support one of my supervisors at getting their admin work done. She needed to work on the schedule, pretty much. And to do that, of course, she has to be in the office. So, anyway, at some point, I very briefly get on the register, but I don't necessarily open it for business. What that means is I see the line is long. I pick somebody who is next in line with a basket with visibly 5 items or fewer, and I invite them over to follow me. Just one person. I said that to one person. My light was still off. My closed sign was still up. This person's basket, I took the stuff out of it. I rang this person up, processed the transaction. Thank you. Have a good one. What does a bitch do? Ignore my sign and begin unloading onto my belt. It was an older lady, so I let it slide because I could see she was physically struggling, lifting whatever items she had in her cart, but she had a bag that she had put them inside of, so she was lifting the bag with everything she possessed for me to ring up. And I said, okay, this is simple. I'm gonna let it slide. However, right behind her, when I'm done with her, there is this gentleman who is unloading his shit, but he had the audacity to grab my closed sign, grab it, lift it, push it to the end, and begin unloading his ginormous cart full of shit. And I go, sir, just to give you a heads up, I am closed. He ignores me. I grab the little divider stick and I go, sir, just to give you a heads up, and I tap the sign, I'm closed. This is my last customer. And he grabs the sign, pushes it further back, gives me like a look of disgust or something, or disbelief, whatever that fucking look was. And he continues to unload, and I'm like, sir, just a heads up, I'm done with this transaction. I'm leaving. And then he's like, so you're helping a customer and then you close after you help them? And I'm like, yeah. Hence me communicating that I'm closed. Light off, sign was there, you picked it up, you touched it, you moved it, you plowed yourself through here. At what point am I going to be able to leave the area if the tools that give me the authority to depart are being ignored? The sign was there before you got there, before you even saw my belt, before you even saw my face. That sign was there. You decided to dismiss it. And on top of that, you're violating the mental limit that I had in place, which was 5 items or fewer. That is the most I can support with when I'm not on official register duties and when my supervision is not available. That's just a rule because I am responsible for the rest of the sales floor. There's more stuff to do. And at that point, we only had like 3 more cards left in the foyer. I hadn't been able to get cards. I had to scramble. Anyway, he finally decided to put his stuff back in his cart. He only unloaded like 2 or 3 things. So it's not like I made him clear the entire belt. I would never let you do that. I would never let you get that far. But what bothered me is that you simply decided to ignore my sign and disrespect me by ignoring my message of, hey, I am not available to serve you at this time. If you decided to just follow blindly these other sheep, because you thought that I was open despite my sign being there, despite my light being off, and very clearly these being small orders. If you lost your place in line, I'm sorry, you made a dumbass call. But at that point, that's not on me. I was just upset that, again, he completely wanted to plow his way through there. And if it comes down to it, I'll just walk away. I'm sorry, but you're not going to bully me into submission. So that was my first clown that day. And then my second clown was I was at the desk, customer service. I have somebody come up there to dispute a price. She was saying that she did not get the sale price on some item. I look at her receipt and I'm like, okay, I see that the item is there. I tell her, hey, I'm gonna need your item. She ignores me. I begin the return process and I'm like, hey, just to give a heads up, I need the item. She finally shuffles and gets it out of her bag and hands it to me. At that moment, I don't catch that the item was on sale on the receipt, because this is one of those items that until you run your phone number, it won't really display that you're getting the promotional price on it. And it's something that it was a minimal detail that I didn't catch, because the receipt can make it a little tricky to catch sometimes. That's why I run it on the register. No matter what they say, whether the price is right or wrong, or it wasn't scanned or whatever, I throw it on the register because my eye is so trained at reading the register display that I can immediately spot what the discrepancies are. The register was showing me that this person had indeed run their profile. I could see their number, I could see their account status and everything. I'm like, okay, this person did run their phone number, therefore it should have applied the price that she was inquiring about. There was a colleague with me next to her because my colleague wanted to check out, given that the lines were very long. It was her lunch break. As I processed that stuff, I noticed that there was something up with her phone number. It was telling me that it needed to be like re-verified or something, reapplied or something. And it's not an uncommon message. It sometimes wants you to type it in again for like security reasons. What if you moved? What if you changed your number? Something like that. So I'm aware that happens, and I'm guessing that was her concern because maybe she tried using her number before, but it didn't work. But ultimately, she did end up getting the price that she was inquiring about. She was beginning to create this issue about how we make it difficult for her to take advantage of the promos because of the work that she has to do with re-verifying her phone number, blah, blah, blah. And it requires action on her part, blah, blah, blah. I'm old, blah, blah. I'm not confident, blah, blah. This is your fault, blah, blah. I'm stomping my feet, hoping that maybe I can get something to appease me, maybe like a fucking gift card or something, because people just assume that if you have a meltdown, we're just gonna try to mitigate it by throwing money at you. None of that. She was in the middle of describing that stuff to my colleague, but I guess secondarily to me, talking about how difficult it is. I don't entertain her with that because it's not hard at all. It just takes like 2 clicks on your phone or your end of the screen to do that. And she just kept going about something that I don't have control over. So I sort of gently interjected to keep the momentum going, because this is a non-issue. The issue you had was about the price, not about how we make it hard for you to use promotional things. And then I go, ma'am, just to give you a heads up, the price turned out to be correct. It was honored with the promotion that we have going on. I can see it right here. On her receipt, I noticed that it processed just like the register was showing me. And then at that point, she's like, nobody's listening to me. And then I just stare at her. She goes, are you the one who doesn't give a hoot about what's going on? And I just wanted to go, hoo, at her really bad. But all I did was, under my mask, I was just smiling, trying to contain my laughter. And I was like, was there something else that you had a question about? Something else that you had concerns over? And she's like, did you listen to me? Are you the one who does not give a hoot about what goes on around here? And I'm like, thank you, have a good one. And I start pushing the receipt back at her, and I greet my colleague and I go like, hey, how's it going? Is this all you're getting? And the lady was just there like, you really do not give a hoot about what's going on here. And I'm like, thank you, have a good one. Just left it at that. And then she finally took her receipt and took her item and took her bag and just walked off. And I keep an eye on her because I'm like, unfortunately for me, the path that she has to take is where the entrance to the desk is. And if one of those clowns just crosses the imaginary line that's out of bounds, I'm gonna freak out. But fortunately, that didn't happen. With my colleague, she was telling me that I handled that very well, that she's proud of how I dealt with it because it was evident that she was looking for a fight. And I said, yeah, you gotta understand, the only place I'm willing to fight and argue is at my home. My home is where life matters, not here. The facts are the facts. She got the price that she was concerned over. The problem is that this is an item with a variable price because it is by the weight. Weighted items don't have a fixed price, a fixed rate. And I was getting ready to explain that to her and illustrate it to her because she cannot read, let alone perform mental math fast enough. Freak out first, ask questions later. That's the kind of customer she is. And I'm not going to entertain that. All I know how to do is she's complaining about something that I cannot modify for her, which is the way that you can access your account to get special pricing. It was already done. I instructed her on what she could do. She wasn't willing to take those steps because, again, she has self confidence issues or whatever issue she has to where she's unwilling to do that. I did my part. Your time is gold right now. And I have a department that I have to continue to manage. Again, this issue, had it been an issue, I would have resolved it. Refund and let her go. It would be on the house because sometimes adjusting certain prices is difficult. And if it's something trivial, we prefer to just let them have it as opposed to trying to get on the computer and adjust things and getting it to do what we want. That wasn't a chance for her. It wasn't an opportunity for her. It wasn't applicable for her. I verified the price that she indicated. It came up. The conversation is over. Goodbye. Have a good one. Why are you still there? And then I remember that, of course, the stress, the noise, she's by herself and all that. I just tell myself, okay, older person by themselves, typical subject for someone who starts tripping over nothing. And I'll never forget one of you guys telling me that sometimes old people get like that because they're just not confident and you just gotta like work with it. And that's what I did. I worked with it, worked through it. It was over. The conversation is over. She got offended. She wanted to complain further. I don't entertain that. And she started accusing me of other stuff. And on top of that, I forgot to mention, she started attacking me for wearing a mask. She was like, on top of that, you're wearing that mask. It's really hard to understand what you're saying. And I'm like, you're understanding me telling you that the price is right. The thank you, have a good one. I was asking you for your phone number. You were able to hear that. You were able to hear me asking you to take action on your part, on your side of the screen or your phone, if you wanted it to do it the phone method. You heard me perfectly fine. At the very end, that's when suddenly you had a problem with my mask. It's the same type of person having trouble hearing me through my mask. And I'm not going to get political here. I'm not going to get racial in here. But like I said, it's the same kind of phenotype, stereotype, and characteristic, meaning this person is by themselves, that says that shit to me. And the folks who used to say that shit to me before, they stopped doing it because they finally respect me now. I don't know how, I don't know what changed. Maybe it was my outstanding service, how consistent I am, and all that, where they finally accepted that I like coming through your line because you do things the way I like it, or you're really careful with my stuff. Some bullshit like that. Whatever it was, that's how I won them over. I didn't have to argue with them. I didn't have to compete with them. I didn't have to say shit. No, I'm not taking my mask. So leave me alone. And that's it, you guys. Those were my incidents at customer service this week. They all made me laugh. I was still rolling yesterday when I remembered that crazy lady. Because again, it's one of those things that I saw what you were doing. You were trying to get under my skin. You were trying to get me to say sorry or agree with you or be like, yeah, you're right. We need to do better about this. No, 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 no. I don't have to humiliate myself for anything. I know what I did. I know my job. Leave me alone. Just take the L. You were wrong about the way you read the sign or about the way that you thought that it processed on your receipt because you're too stupid to realize that when something is by the pound, it's a variable weight item. If we say something is 5.99, it is 5.99, but if it's by the pound and you exceed the 5.99 range, yes, it'll be more expensive, but you don't get it. I hate that. Anyways, you guys, that's it. I'm done. Bye. Don't mess with your girl.